Yes. Good morning from Belgium. Good afternoon, Singapore, Mr. Eric Chua. Is it that way you pronounce it?
That's absolutely correct, Jim. Very good morning to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are honored to have you in the in the show in the coffee break today. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's my privilege to be here talking to you, Jim, and I'm very happy to be on this coffee break with everyone. And I'm very excited to talk about the topics we're going to talk about.
Yeah. To be honest, I told you, you're a very brave man to do what you are doing right now. So your title, it's the first time we had to adapt our poster because your title was that long. So
Too long.
your title will become now senior parliamentary secretary for youth, culture, community, and two other things. The other two.
Social and family development. Yes.
Social and family development. Now, explain to the people in Europe what in short, like what does that mean?
Right. So, Parliamentary Secretary, essentially, I perform the role of a vice or assistant minister in MCCY, which is short form for the Ministry of Culture, Community and Youth. I actually help the minister out in the area of sport. So I'm very big on issues like growing our sporting pipelines, growing our sporting ecosystem. This year, we have a major games. We have a heavy major games calendar. We have the Southeast Asian Games that was just over a couple of weeks ago. We also have the Commonwealth Games coming up. So I'll be heading to your part of the world pretty soon, to England, to Birmingham. And unfortunately, of course, the Asian Games was postponed. So that's what I do on the MCCY part of the house. On the Ministry of Social and Family Development part of the house, I actually help the minister take care of the vulnerable ones in society. So many of you might think that Singapore is an affluent society, and it is true that many Singaporeans are quite doing quite all right, even during and after the pandemic. But there are still some of us who have perhaps fallen through the cracks. So I'm assisting the Minister for Social and Family Development in the areas of helping out those amongst us with the less privileged ones, to make sure that we are able to make sure that social mobility is something that's attainable in Singapore. So that is in gist, a very short and brief explanation of what I do on a daily basis. Can't quite capture the whole essence of what it is that I do. But happy to share with you more if you were to reach out to me over social media separately.
Yeah. Now you are organizing the 2nd of July. You are organizing a Happiness at Work satellite event in Singapore, and you are one of the drivers of that event. Now, what drives you to do that?
Well, perhaps I can start off with what happiness at work really means to me. And I think happiness, to be happy at work, I think a large part of that has got to do with passion. So to be truly happy at work, if you are given a chance to be working on something that you're truly passionate about, I think that is a blessing. And I count my blessings to be able to work with people, because my passion is with people, with empowering people, with helping people. And a lot of times, reverse mentoring takes place, because when I help people out, and I myself find that I learn and I grow as a person in the process as well. So my role as parliamentary secretary and my role as a member of parliament on the ground allows me to do that, and that gives me a lot of energy, even though the work really is demands quite a bit in terms of it's quite physically as well as mentally demanding. Let's just put it that way. And I think it's a blessing to also be pursuing your passions, and at the same time be given resources for that. Be given resources in terms of people's time, given resources in terms of investments monetarily, as well as in terms of in kind. And we do have quite a number of people in society who are passionate about various causes. So, for instance, pursuing the cause of mental wellness and mental health both at work, in a community, within a family, individual mental health. I think that has an issue that has been at the forefront of society's consciousness. Also, including in Singapore, there has been on the issue, on the consciousness of the Singaporean in our society in recent years, even before the pandemic. Well, and the pandemic just accentuated this issue. And I think it's also a blessing to be able to work with like-minded individuals like yourself, Jim, and be connected from all over the world to work on common passions that we are all driven and motivated to pursue. So that in gist for me is happiness at work, and I'm happy to be here and happy to be helping to champion this notion of happiness at work in this part of the world in Singapore.
Yeah. Now, I think the benefits of happiness at work, they are like they are known. Like companies, they will have more engaged employees, burnouts are less, absenteeism is less. Is there like a specific like benefit that is your favorite one? Is it like really the mental health of the people that is important for you?
I think if I were to look at the current context, if I were to flip the question around, I think what my concern would be that, COVID for the past 2 years has really disrupted the world order, if you will, and disrupted the way we play, the way we learn, the way we work. And I think it's got a huge stress on mental health as well. Also in Singapore, I think no different from other parts of the world, we have been very much affected, and mental health of our population has been very much affected by COVID, as well as the measures that we have had to put in place because of COVID. So a study that was done locally in Singapore, we actually found that amongst those respondents, about 13% of the respondents who were surveyed, they reported that they had experienced symptoms of anxiety or depression in the period of May 2020 to June last year. So that's when COVID was really at its peak in Singapore. And what were people concerned about? I think we found that people were concerned about the risk of family members or friends contracting COVID. They were worried about financial loss, right? Sometimes owing to a loss of income due to a loss of employment. So these were issues that were top of mind, quite bread and butter, but also quite core to a person's existence as well as well-being. So actually, we have done quite a bit here in Singapore. So we have very quickly set up a national care hotline or helpline. So if people are stressed and people are facing anxiety, they could call the hotline. And if we pick up any instances of sustained or prolonged mental health condition, we are able to then refer to a mental health professional. We have also tried to raise awareness about mental well-being and mental health issues. We have done that for quite a number of years, even before COVID. But during COVID, I think we have stepped up our preparations. And tangibly, we have also quite a number of initiatives on the government front to try to work at giving support to our citizens in terms of jobs, in terms of skills upgrading. The pandemic is a time where it's a good time perhaps to think about reskilling, upskilling, and that's what we did. Focus those who were perhaps temporarily unemployed on the task of reskilling ourselves so that we can re-enter the workforce when the opportunity arises. So that, I think, is a brief report card, if you will, of what we have been doing to really combat, COVID in the past 2 years, as well as the related stresses of the pandemic on our mental health.
Yeah, what was COVID in a way like kind of a gift for awareness?
Well, in a way, everything has a silver lining, right? So everything is never quite just negative or just positive. COVID has its silver lining as well, because it does make people appreciate, rethink priorities in life, right? So what are our priorities in life? Do we place priority on, our progression in our careers, or do we place priority on the loved ones in our life, like our family members, our close friends, the ones that we love in our life? So I think that conversation has become much more pronounced and much more articulated during times of COVID and even after. I think that allows us to recenter, refocus, and recalibrate what is important to each of us in our lives. And I think that's a great byproduct of COVID, if you can put it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, I think also like yeah, going in nature, and then these small moments, like personal moments, that the
Yes,
importance of these moments, yeah, just increased.
indeed. Taking a pause, smell the coffee, and look at the
Yeah,
roses, right?
yeah. See here,
I've water though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now COVID. Yeah, let's say COVID is gone. We will see if it's gone. Now, what is like the main focus now for the coming years in Singapore?
Well, we want to continue the good work on the front of, having our population and our citizens, our society be more aware about mental health and mental wellness issues. So on that front, we have been working amongst the different government agencies, community partners to really drive the message of workplace mental well-being across. So what we have is there is an institute for human resource professionals, and we have a playbook on workplace mental well-being, really to guide HR professionals how they can support their colleagues on this front, on mental well-being. And there are frequently talks as well as workshops that are being organized by local bodies such as the Workplace Safety and Health Council, as well as the local health promotion board, that actually employees can attend at little or no cost. So these are some of the various initiatives that are ongoing. Of course, there are broad stroke campaigns that targets the entire society. Things like we have the Beyond the Label campaigns that really aims at removing stigma that persons with mental health conditions sometimes face in society, and a lot of times that stigma is arising because of a lack of understanding, a lack of awareness about what people with mental health conditions could or could not do. So by and by, a lot of work has been done, and I think we'll continue to try to move such efforts along this trajectory.
Yeah. What we see here in Europe, and I assume that it's the same in Singapore, but you can confirm it, yes or no, is that like a lot of people, they show like signs of fatigue. Like people, they, first there was COVID, and then there was a second wave of COVID. Now there's
Yes,
the war. So people seem like, okay, just leave it like it is, like just
they
leave
just
me
give up.
alone. Yeah, is that the same in Singapore? Do you see similar things?
I think it's human nature. It's only human to be feeling the fatigue after one round, two rounds, and then you have the back and forth in terms of measures. I think it's only natural that people get tired, they get exhausted, and they think, oh, when will this ever end? So at work, then how do we get people to refocus? I think a large part of it we have got to come back to fundamentals. Somebody in the company or somebody in the workplace has got to say, hey, look, why are we on this business in the first place? Why are we in this business of, say, in the social service sector, empowering people, or in the business sector, in a particular industry? Why are you in the tech industry in the first place? So I think we got to refocus as to, why is it that we are in a certain role, in a certain industry. So focus on the fundamentals. I think that's also important. That's point one. Second point, I think, is also opportune for us to really emphasize the point about self-care. We often talk about, I want to achieve this target, this KPI at work. I want to have my output this much for this month, and then continuing on a linear line all throughout the years. That's not possible. Sometimes we've got to take a stop, take a pause, and then really care for ourselves and take a mental health break if we need to, even if it means half an hour every day, even if it means taking 15 minutes just to go for a meditation session, just to do deep breathing exercises. I think we all ought to practice self-care. And the third point I will make is mutual care. All right, we just need to look across our shoulders at our colleagues on our left and right, just to make sure everyone is okay. Check in regularly at the start of meetings, at the pantry when you meet them for coffee breaks, over lunches. And I think that small little gesture of checking in can really allow us to, just make each other feel that humanity in all of us again. And I think it's also important.
Yeah. I was looking at you, and I feel absolutely what you stand for. But that's like rather rare to find like somebody in politics who was also expressing now. Can you explain where that drive to help people, to care for people, where is there something in you that caused this characteristic of you, that you like to help people, you like to care? Is it, where is your drive coming from?
Oh, that's a tough one because
Yeah, that question was not on the list.
no, but because I only found myself over the years gradually. So I've done quite a bit of different roles in the past, but as I got into roles that allowed me to work with junior members of the organization, I found myself getting a lot of satisfaction. I found it very rewarding when I was able to work with younger employees in the organization. I was in the Singapore Civil Defence Force. That is a first response agency. So I was wearing uniform. I was a commander on the ground. And as I went through different command appointments, it gave me a lot of pride and a lot of satisfaction when the younger ones do well. And the younger ones do well because you know that you have made a little bit of difference in their lives. They have taken certain decisions because they have consulted you, you have given them some advice. I wouldn't say I'm a great mentor, but I do think that, you know, that sense of achievement when you're the ones that you are looking after do well in life, I share a lot of the pride and joy. So by and by, I realized that, you know, hey, that is what I'm passionate about. And each of us are passionate about different things. Some of us are
Mhm.
passionate about numbers. Some of us are passionate about mechanisms and mechatronics and things like that. I'm passionate about people. It just happens that I'm passionate about
Yeah.
people. And I thought, why not, you know, just leverage that and continue working with people. And I have been doing community work for a good 15 years before I joined politics. So I find that energizes me, and that gives me a lot of satisfaction that drives me on a daily basis. And that's why I've chosen to go on this path, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then for sure you will like the keynote of Claude Silver. And she will talk about how to create the culture of belonging. So that will be
Mm,
one of the two keynotes you will follow in your satellite event. Now we got a question from a viewer, like
sure.
he or she wants to know about the Singapore is known as a country of technology. How do
Yes.
you want that to use that technology to improve like the mental health?
Well, we have seen actually some of this technological devices being used during the pandemic, and I would say the pandemic accelerated that. So because of COVID, a lot of us couldn't travel out of our homes, especially when the lockdown was in place. What happens is it causes a lot of anguish, if I can use that word, and it causes a lot of anxiety on the part of, say, seniors who are living alone. So actually, we connected with them using technology because we could use and pass them an iPad, we could pass them a tablet, and then we could do telecalls with them. At the same time, we also saw some organizations, ground up community organizations, using this teleconferencing, method to sort of check in on the seniors' well-being and also make sure that they are compliant with their medication and compliant with the health procedures that they need to do at home by themselves because they couldn't travel out of their homes. So we do see tech playing a big role, and I think the past 2 years has given us a lot of impetus, a lot of motivation for all of us to really adopt technology in our push towards making mental wellness and mental well-being a key focus of society. And I think that is another example of how COVID has given birth to some silver linings. And it's not all doom and gloom. And I
Mhm.
so I think that's a great question. I thank the member for asking that question.
Yeah. Now I want to respect your time, so maybe one last question.
Sure.
The satellite event on the 2nd of July. What do you want to achieve with that kind of event? Happiness at work event, first happiness at work event in Singapore. When are you happy? What do you want to achieve with that event?
Well, very frankly, I think it is going to be a checkpoint in the journey because it's a long haul journey in order to make awareness
Yeah.
more stuck in our community, awareness that mental well being is a real issue, and mental well being is an issue we ought to pay attention to, not just in the community, not just in families, not just in schools, but also at the workplace. So I hope it can be a critical checkpoint for us because we will never quite get to the end point. It will be a sustained journey. It will be an ongoing journey that we all need to be working on. And I hope we can also bring the additional dimension that this is an issue that internationally, many like-minded communities are working on this. And we are working on a similar endeavor to make sure that, mental wellness and wellness and well-being is something that all of us ought to be concerned about. So again, awareness and make sure we have right HR practices that will allow us to, really allow us to pursue mental well-being friendly practices. I think that will be a key goal of the conference on the 2nd of July.
Thank you very much for being here and for sure for leading by example.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.